Hey everybody, it's Lawrence Presman. They call me the Prez, co-founder of Wager Talk Media. Not looking my best. Can't decide whether to stop wearing t-shirts and put on a suit. Make these shows a little bit more professional. Maybe I'll do my hair. Ralph Michaels joining us. It's the NFL Presidential Address. Week 13. Lots to talk about. 3 games on Thanksgiving. A whole slate of games on Sunday, and of course the Monday night game. Let's bring Ralph in. Let's get to it. How are you, my friend? What's going on with you? You were in the studio all day today.
It was. We shot videos with Thanksgiving on Thursday. Normally we shoot on Wednesday, but we shot them. So busy day. You know, it's the Joe Ranieri tip-off show with college basketball is going great.
Yes.
Staying busy with Teddy Covers, doing the Wager Talk TV show on Sports Grid daily as well from 12 to 1 Pacific, 3 to 4 Eastern. So staying busy, and it's just a good time of the year.
Yeah, I mean, you're the busiest man we got working, brother, and it's an honor and privilege to have you as part of our team. And it's really great that you joined me for this show, so thanks for that. Really quick, everybody, some business to take care of. We're offering a Thanksgiving special this week. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and, of course, Monday. Every single package sold at Wager Talk and Sports Memo will only be $9. So if you've never purchased plays from any of us before, $9 should be a perfect time to buy. And I'll give you a quick heads up. Carmine Bianco for NHL, Ralph Michaels for college basketball, Tony Finn for NFL, Dave Koken for college football. You take my advice on those 4 and you're going to make yourself a hell of a lot of money. Anything to add to that, Ralph?
Nope, it's just our way of saying thank you to all of our customers and have a very safe and happy Thanksgiving holiday.
Absolutely, brother. It's not Thanksgiving in Canada, but I will be watching the football game. So let's get straight to it. Chicago, big, huge victory against the New York Giants this past week. Really impressive stuff, you know, being able to beat the New York Giants and all. They're now -3 on the road against Detroit. It looks like Stafford won't play, although there still might be a change, but the line makers are pretty certain he ain't going to show up. 38.5 is the total. You know, Ralph, for me, I'd like to bet the under in this game. I just don't think I can. I think if there's ever a problem ailing your offense, you should play the Detroit Lions. But with that said, I lean on the Lions here, Ralph. I think I'm going to take the points. I'm likely even going to get to the window with this play. What are your thoughts?
God bless you. I'm not. You know, there's no Stafford. There's a chance there's not even Driscoll. David Blau, the Purdue quarterback. Driscoll is banged up, and that's why the line keeps climbing. You know, Trubisky, you know, is Trubisky. What are you going to get? Well, he did pass for 270 yards. He did well against Detroit. He was 16 to 23 with 3 touchdowns his earlier appearance, and he threw for 300 some yards last year against them. So at least he's had some success. But it's the Bears defense. They're allowing 17 points per game. Even with this stretch, I thought we'd see some regression from the Bears defense, just being so frustrated with the lack of offense, but it hasn't been the case. 243 yards against the Giants, 283 yards against the Rams, 13 points against Detroit, 231 yards against the Chargers. This Thanksgiving Day angle, in Detroit Lion games, the favorite has gone 14-1 the last 15 years. So that says take the Bears. Detroit has been 4-0 as a favorite and 1-10 as a dog on Thanksgiving Day, hosting the early game.
He's Ralph Michaels. I'm the Prez. You can find both of us at wagertalk.com. And don't worry, guys, we're going to get to Ralph's Week 13 trends. We'll do that after we look at all 3 Thanksgiving games. Ralph, this game intrigues me. Buffalo +7. The line is moving and it's moving fast. There are 6.5s not across the board. You can still get 7 at the Nugget. You can get a 7 at Stations Casino at Pinnacle. A total of 46, which has gone up a full point, which does surprise me. Here's my take on this game, Ralph. Buffalo has to feel like they're getting no respect at all. And I grant you they've played a poof cake schedule, but you play what's in front of you. Josh Allen played phenomenal the last two games. The game against Denver, look, that's a tough defense to play against. He was able to move the ball up and down the field. And Dallas really looked shaky against New England, especially with some of the play calling coming out of the Dallas's coaching team. I really like Buffalo here, Ralph, and I really like the under as well. I look at this and I think to myself, well, New England's got a world-class defense. Buffalo's not that far off. And if New England can hold Dallas to next to nothing, I think Buffalo can do the same. Now, I grant you, Dallas is not going to be playing in the elements that they had to play in against New England on Sunday. But this Buffalo defense is real stout. I think this game is going to go under, and I like the dog, and I like them a lot.
Well, Dallas has been a very generous Thanksgiving Day host, going 1-7 against the spread their last 8 games. And people may say, well, you look at Buffalo and they only have wins against Denver, Miami, Washington, Miami, Tennessee, Cincinnati, the Jets, and the Giants. Nobody impressive. But then, hey, you can go to Dallas and say their wins are against Detroit, the Giants, one good game against Philadelphia, Miami, Washington, and the Giants. So as little as impressive as Buffalo's. So let's compare defenses. You know, Buffalo allowing 289 yards and 17 first downs. You have the edge. Yes, you certainly give an edge to Dallas's offense, but you know, is it worth a full touchdown? I don't know about that. Josh Allen's played very well down the stretch, as you said. 424 yards against Miami, 424 against Denver, and then you also have the issue of the owner calling out the head coach after the game against New England. I mean, that's just not good for team camaraderie. I don't care if it's just media and the media is blowing it up. I'll tell you what, it still affects the team. I agree with you with the dog.
Yeah, and Ralph, on that note, and I've watched a lot of Dallas games and a lot of Buffalo games, and this Buffalo team is very well coached. I don't know what the statistics are, but they just do not get a ton of penalties. Their offensive line are not getting a lot of holding calls. And conversely, this Dallas team, since the Jerry Jones era, and rightfully so, they have always been about that O-line. But that O-line is taking way too many penalties and playing undisciplined football.
Yeah, and then you look at the Bills and 11 sacks the last 2 weeks
from nobody.
So that added pressure can certainly give them a boost.
Yeah, Shaq, I think is his name. Shaq Lawson, is that correct?
It is.
Yeah, he looks phenomenal. New Orleans going into Atlanta here. I like the term Alex B. Smith used it on Puck Time today. Rapid revenge, as in it only happened a few weeks ago. Atlanta beat New Orleans in New Orleans, held them to 9 points. That's not going to happen this time around. I expect New Orleans to put up a ton of points, and Atlanta could be the best team in all of football in between the 20s and the worst team in all of football in the red zone. With that said, I have to look at the dog here as well, Ralph. +7 for Atlanta, and I like the over 49. I think there's going to be a lot of points scored in this game.
Well, I'm going to have an angle at the end which leans with the under, but it's a general angle because anytime you have teams meeting for the second time in the NFL in the same season, it's been an underplay. I mean, not dramatically, but just enough that you have to take notice. Yes, you have rapid revenge, and yes, it was 3 games ago that you lost 26-9. To be honest with you, I don't know what the hell to make of the Atlanta Falcons. I mean, you want to talk about Heckle and Jekyll. Beating New Orleans on the road 26-9 and beating Carolina on the road 29-3 and only giving up 35 first downs in both of those games. and then going out and do what you did against Tampa Bay, allowing 446 yards and 35 points. So, I think if you say which is the truer of the Atlanta Falcons team, it's clearly last week's performance with the D getting eaten up. And, by no means can you ever look past a division foe. But I'll tell you what, I mean, the Saints have to at least be peaking having San Francisco on deck, which could be for home field for the NFC Championship. But again, this is a division foe on a short week with revenge. So that's not coming into play. I just mention it because it's out there. But it's still a lot of points to cover on a short week for a team you're familiar with. And the Falcons aren't one that needs style points at this point. Listen, you have 2 losses. You're in the playoffs. You just have to make sure you're healthy. You have to make sure you get a win. Extending that win and beating a team up bad does them no difference now than it does. There's no style points in the NFL.
Ain't that the truth? And look, New Orleans, talk about style points. They were lucky to get out of that game in Carolina. First and goal at the 3 or 4 for Carolina to end that game and put a W on the board and really put themselves in the chase. But you know what? Kudos to New Orleans' defense for standing them up. That's the Thanksgiving section of the show. Ralph, let's talk about some trends and angles for Week 13.
Sure. I'm going to give you 2, and one says to take KC and one says to take Oakland. And people are going to say, well, why would you give out trends that are conflicting? The reason is, I'm not giving you these trends just to use a specific game and say, play this team because of this trend.
Yeah.
I'm giving you a trend to help you think about why you like a team, reasons to perhaps like a team more, reasons to perhaps like a team less. So, yes, I'm going to give you a trend that's on both sides, which means it's a no play, but that doesn't mean you can't take something from that trend moving forward. So the first couple trends, if you are a double-digit home favorite and you beat your foe by 10 points or more in the last game, like Kansas City did against Oakland, since 2015, those teams have gone 28-11, 72%. And I only use 2015 because that's the best record. If you go back to 2010, this system is over 65%. So if you beat a team by 10 and you're a double-digit favorite again, you most likely, more than 2 out of every 3 times, beat them by more than 10 the second time. Now, I said I had an angle that goes opposite that, and this is one that I like as well. Since 2013, teams that have been completely embarrassed in the NFL, losing by 29 or more points, and now they're on the road. Those teams have covered 63.6% of the spread. They've gone 28-16 against the spread. Well, 2 teams lost by over 29 points last week. Oakland lost to the Jets, and Green Bay lost as well. So 2 teams completely embarrassed, and when embarrassed teams in the NFL tend to bounce back and cover. What I was talking about with the division foes, Prez, in the second meeting, when you have division teams play each other, if you blindly play the under in every second meeting, you have covered 54.1% of the time. There's been 420-some games, 198 overs, 233 unders. Why? Well, listen, you don't have to study the whole playbook. You know this team. You know the intricacies of the team. You know their game patterns. The defense can prepare for the offense much better. So just blindly, again, I'm not telling you to play every under in the second game of the season between meetings, but think about that. You are playing into a 54% situation if you do like the over. Well, yes, there's still 46% of the games that go over the total. Just make sure you like it for the right reason. And in the second meeting, when the team that lost the first is a home dog of 3 or more, so the team that has revenge is a home dog. There's none this week, but I want to mention it because we're talking about it. The Jets against Miami, Week 14, the Jets aren't going to be a home dog. They were in the earlier numbers. And Washington will be against Philly, Week 15. You're 34-55 38% to the over, or 62% to the under. And the last one, we're going to talk about the best game on the board in the
is
NFL.
that the Washington-Carolina game?
It's Cleveland and Pittsburgh. No, from week 9 on in the NFL. So we're talking later in the season, after halfway through, when both teams have a win percentage of 70% or higher, and a team is a home favorite of over a field goal, like Baltimore is against San Francisco, that home team has gone 19-10, 66%. So again, no crazy systems, but just reasons to think about why you like a team in certain situations that have worked very well.
Ralph, listen, I love all this stuff, and I think there's a lot of merit to it, especially the logic behind the second game going under. But none of those trends are 70%. Do you know?
Prez, there, and that's what maybe I didn't clarify. I get a lot of feedback from when I do the bet on it TNAs and from situations, and the public really prefers situations that are easy and are 60%, instead of me saying this team in this situation that does this, this, and this, that's 88%, but you'll never, ever be able to figure out what those teams are in the future. So by keeping it simple, keeping it just one or two dynamics, and being 60%, it helps our viewers become better handicappers than just cherry picking one game that they would never be able to use that situation in the future, because they would never be able to tell all those scenarios occurred.
Yeah. Well, the reason I brought up the 70% mark, Ralph, is that I have a trend for you.
Fire away, Prez.
Tony Finn is 70% this NFL season.
Yeah, the man just keeps cashing.
2-1 this past Sunday on a 6-1 NFL run. Won his 5% play on Seattle. There is literally nobody on the planet better in NFL than Tony. And Ralph, I know you've only been with Wager Talk for 2 or 3 years. Since we're 6 years old as a company, and since we started out, Tony Finn is over 61% in NFL. Those numbers are so utterly ludicrous. I mean, think about this, Ralph. Tom Brady or Tony Finn?
I have a better analogy or analysis on that record, Prez. And fortunately, I've been able to say this a few times. There's nothing better when you're a handicapper that you go 2-1 and your season-long percentage drops.
Yeah, you're right. And it dropped slightly under 70%.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, I have a promo for all of you. Promo code TonyNFL. And really what that is $100 off of Tony's NFL season and playoffs. So only $295 for Tony's NFL season and playoffs. So make sure to head over to wagertalk.com and use that promo code, because it's really about as good as it gets. You know, Ralph, real quick, while I was talking to you, we had a comment placed at we had a comment placed on Puck Time, my hockey show, by one of our wonderful dear listeners. I'd like to read it for you. Prez is a load his mother should have swallowed. What do you think?
I'll just continue on.
Yeah. So
it's Thanksgiving, Prez. We're in the festive holiday mood, so you should have never read that.
Oh, dude, this stuff doesn't bother me. You know, ultimately, a human being that has to go onto social media and put such crap in there is a very sad, lonely, and depressed human being. So when push comes to shove, based on how happy I am and how sad they are, I'm thinking my mother should have probably swallowed his father's load instead. Green Bay Packers, -6.5, going into New York, playing the Giants. The total is 45.5, 46. And before we get into this game, I want to just stop and talk about two games. Sunday night, we probably saw the most dominating performance of the year. San Francisco was unbelievable. I am a believer in this team now. Their defense is really fast. They gave Aaron Rodgers no time whatsoever to throw the ball, and Green Bay looked completely anemic. It was one of the most lopsided games I've ever seen, and a lopsided game against a very good football team in Green Bay. That all ended Monday night, because Monday night we saw an even more dominating performance against an even better team on the road this time. Baltimore has just blown my mind, and we're going to get to that too. But the reason I bring those two games up is obviously Green Bay is sitting here in the spot that we're going to talk about, and they cannot be happy. I would not want to be the New York Giants here, but with that said, I don't think I believe in this Green Bay team, Ralph. Do I think they can go into New York and cover 6.5? Yeah, sure. Do I think they can go into New York and lose? Yeah, sure. I like the over in this game, but dude, I'm passing flat out.
Well, I mentioned the embarrassment angle, and, clearly, that's going to be in play. But, you look at the Giants. They score on a 4th and 18. They move the ball against Chicago. They scored on the last play to cover against Detroit. You score on the last play early to get the win against Tampa. So the team keeps trying. And Daniel Jones keeps chucking the ball around, and they're a second half team that's worth betting on, because no matter how far they're down, they're going to keep throwing the ball. But they just turn the ball over. They get sacked too much. Daniel Jones, he's the first player since 2003 to lose 10 fumbles. We're only, he only played a handful of games. He took over in Tampa, and so we're talking 8 games.
Yeah.
In 8 games, the guy's lost 10 fumbles. Every time you get sacked, you may lose the ball. Well, I'll tell you what, Green Bay's going to get some sacks on them. They have 30, They have 28 on the year, and they're going to hit them. So, it's a game that, the Giants they have 2 wins. People keep talking like they're better than they are. They're 1-8 as a home dog. You have an embarrassed Packers team that is much better than them and should cover. But, the offense isn't that great for the Packers, and the Giants are going to keep trying. So it's a game I'm not going to play, and I think that the back door is always open when you have New York.
Washington against Carolina. -10 for Carolina. They don't deserve to be a -10 favorite, but they are playing Washington. Look, Washington won last week against Detroit. From a sexual perspective, they blew their load. I don't expect them to play well this Sunday against Carolina, but I cannot take -10, and I can't play the total either in this game. Again, Ralph, for the second Sunday game in a row, I'm passing.
I can see Carolina here. I would not bet Washington. You're off a win, and in that win you had 230 yards and you had 13 first downs, and you beat Detroit without their quarterback. So is that a win? I was a Dwayne Haskins fan at Ohio State, so it was embarrassing for this quarterback to be taking selfies instead of being out there to kneel, because he didn't realize the game positions. He wasn't ready to play. He only started 1 year at Ohio State.
Yeah.
That doesn't make him ready to play quarterback. It's very, very obvious he's not ready to be an NFL quarterback, but they're stuck playing him. You have Adrian Peterson and an offense that's averaging 86 yards per game. And, that's where maybe you can make some hay, that a few teams have exposed Carolina, but I think McCaffrey runs all over him. I think Kyle Allen gets the job done. And while I'm not going to be backing Carolina at the window, I would say if I had to make a choice here, I would have a clear lean with the Panthers.
Speaking of McCaffrey and the Panthers, Ralph, what the hell was Ron Rivera thinking? 3 shots at a touchdown on the third 3-yard line, and man, you got to run that guy all 3 times. But anyway, that's a whole different story. San Francisco and Baltimore, and Ralph, this is the game of the week. This might be the game of the year. This very likely could be the Super Bowl matchup. We have Carolina here at -6, and it came out at -4.5. Obviously, the reason it's -6 is one of the most dominating primetime performances we've ever seen. Baltimore literally scored on a touchdown on every single possession until Lamar Jackson was taken out. They just ran rampant over this LA Rams defense, and the Rams defense is a good defense. With that said, what San Fran has is a fast defense, and I think that that is going to bode very well for them against this kind of run option college football style offense that the Baltimore Ravens are running. I think the San Francisco defense matches up perfectly against this offense, and I don't think they're going to make the same mistake that Wade Phillips made on Monday night, which would be not putting a spy on Lamar Jackson. I don't know if you watched that game, but so many times there were lanes open in the 3 and 4 hole right in front of Lamar that he just ran through. And, you know, that one run where he almost got a touchdown, I actually don't understand why the refs spotted him at the 3 when he fell, because nobody touched him. But that was just piss poor defense by the Rams. This defensive coordinator for San Fran is a dude. Guy is more excited than I am with a night with Kate Upton. I think San Fran is going to be able to hold this team down to some degree. With that said, Jimmy G looks good. Kittle is back. The wide receivers of San Fran are doing well. Man, I don't know how you can't take the dog in this spot.
I agree. I'm not one to get it in the way of Baltimore because, trust me, they're as impressive as you get. But, what they've done is they were a team not getting respect, and they were a dog in all those games before last week. They're only 2-8 as a home favorite. And you can go back to the Cincinnati game, they won by 6, and the Cleveland game they lost, and the Arizona game that they won by 6, and say, well, that was a different team, and Lamar Jackson wasn't mature at that point, and he's learned to become more mature. But I look at it and I say this: there's a lot of quarterbacks that every game since Cleveland at halftime, 17-13, 17-13, 28-10, 14-0, 28-6. You're up by so much, you can change the offense to run the way you want to. When you can run play action because you have that big of a lead, you're going to be a damn good passer like Lamar Jackson is. Not taking anything away from Lamar Jackson because he is the MVP in the league. But I agree with you with the D-line. The D-line, boom, drafting Boza was, fell into the lap. Signing Richard Sherman made him even better. So you have a defensive ends that are quick enough to contain him, and that's the first time he's going to have this all year, like you said. You add a spy to that. You got Armstead, and you got DeForest Buckner, and, Warner's awesome at linebacker. And, the team is loaded with defensive studs. So, Richard Sherman allows you to rush an extra guy, and very few teams have that shutdown corner where you can leave an extra guy in the box. That'll be the difference in the game, is that, he extends plays. Lamar Jackson extends plays. And if you extend plays, you need the time to do that. I don't think San Fran gives them the time. You're also paying a premium. The NFL's a what have you done for me lately league. Well, if this game was played 2 weeks ago, you'd probably be laying 3 points less. But after what they did to Houston and after what they did to the Rams, you're paying the premium.
Ralph.
Yes.
If this game was played Sunday night and the San Fran game was played Monday night, the line would be different. That's how what have you done lately comes into play. Yeah.
So I agree. I am not, you know what, it's going to be one of those games I truly enjoy watching as a fan.
Yeah.
I will not be on either side.
I will be on San Fran, my friend. I will be betting them, and I will likely be betting the over in that game too, because although I have argued that the San Fran defense will contain Baltimore, what they won't do is stop them outright. I still expect Baltimore to score, and I think with George Kittle in for San Francisco, I think they're offensively a hard team to stop as well. Tennessee going into Indianapolis, and Ralph, this is a huge game for both these teams. This game has massive playoff implications. And a kudos to you for calling Tennessee on Sunday. You know, I tossed and turned between Tennessee on Sunday against Jacksonville or the under. At halftime, I knew I had made the right choice on playing the under. And at the end of the game, I almost shot myself.
Third quarter, right?
What?
They played that damn third quarter when they scored 28 points. Hate that third quarter.
Ralph, there were 52 points scored in the second half. That has to be some kind of top 10 record.
Can I do that? I don't know. Probably not when I'm on the air. I can't figure that out. So
I mean, you're talking about an average of 104 points. I think the KC Rams game last year, 44-41, if I'm correct, that's 85 points. I guarantee you 52 points weren't scored in the second half of that game. Anyway, the bottom line on this game is here I sit again, Ralph. Do I take Tennessee or do I take the under? And I'm struggling because I like both a lot. Look, Indianapolis is a better team than most people think. Jacoby Brissett looks like he's for real. He's not going to obviously be the next coming, but he's going to be good enough. Indianapolis's O-line is as good as it gets. It really doesn't matter who's running the ball for Indianapolis. They seem to be able to run the ball. But with that said, man, Tennessee, since Ryan Tannehill has come in, offhand, and I could be wrong, I think they're undefeated. And they're feeling really good about themselves. Derrick Henry is by far the most productive back in all of the NFL right now. And you can add Kamara to that mix. You can add McCaffrey to that mix. Derrick Henry is a freaking beast. And Tennessee is a very well-coached team. Indianapolis, however, has the next big coach. Frank Reich is just phenomenal. I think this game is going to be really a tough game. I think it's going to be fought in the trenches, Ralph. I think this game is going to come down to the front four for both teams. I think the under is the play here, but man, I'm getting 3 points with Tennessee as well. It's under and dog for this man.
I agree. You are and I are in total agreement in this game. You look at Tennessee. Henry does what he needs to do. Since Tannehill has started, he started that Denver game. They lost 16-0, or maybe he came in that Denver game. They only lost in that span, though, in their last 5 games. They lost to Carolina 30-20 on the road. A game they ended up having a 61-yard edge in, but what happened was they were -2 turnovers and ended up losing that game. The Colts are manageable. You look at what they did. They beat Jacksonville. But the Colts are also a team that's 1-3. Yes, T.Y. Hilton was banged up, and now, Eric Ebron is not going to play. So, you're losing your weapons on offense that Brissett counts on and needs to have. Mac out. It's just you're losing too many weapons. The O-line, which, was one of the best, gave up 4 sacks against Denver, gave up 5 sacks against Pittsburgh, gave up 3 sacks against Jacksonville. We're starting to see holes. And this, the Tennessee team, it's not like you say, well, they're an elite D-line, but all of a sudden you look and they have 30 sacks on the year, which is a pretty good number.
Ralph, since day one, if you go back to the show I did with Kelly on the NFL preview show, I said that the Titans have one of the best. I said they had a top 3 defense in football. No big names, no Aaron Donald, no Bosa brothers, but this team just gets it done, and it's not as much about the front 4. It's all 7 of them. Plus, their cover guys are pretty good, too. I think, I'll tell you flat out, I wouldn't want to face Tennessee in the playoffs.
Well, they're fundamentally sound. You have a team that rushes for over 120 yards, over 4.5 yards per carry, a quarterback that's completing 65%. And on defense, you have a team that's allowing 100 yards or just under that rushing and 4.0 yards per carry. That's the type of team you want to take on the road, and that's the type of team that can win on the road.
Speaking about the road, Philadelphia is hitting it, and couldn't be better timing for them. Man, this team is out of sorts. Look, defensively, they played phenomenal their last 2 games, and especially against Seattle. It's not easy holding Russell Wilson down. Now they're going into Miami as a 9-point favorite. The over and under is 45. And Ralph, I hate to tell you this, but this game is so far a pass that I don't even want to talk about it.
You know, Prez, I have an eye-opening stat for you. Yeah, you may own Wager Talk, but you may have not gone there today and see that I posted something new on my homepage. And what I did is I took the NFL stats only for the last 5 weeks. So, you know, year-to-date stats are thrown out, and just took stats since October the 23rd. And we know Baltimore is at a historic pace, and let me just give you how historic. You know, Baltimore had a bye week in there, so they're 4-0 straight up, 4-8 ATS. They're plus 31.5 points per game diff, and they're plus 154 yards per game diff. The number 2 team is about half of that. But first downs, you look at the Philadelphia Eagles. In first downs, they are number 1 in first downs diff in the last 5 weeks. Why? Their defense is only allowing 14.5 first downs per game. That's by far number 1 in the country. So they're hanging in there. It's not as if, though, you know, they're getting blown out. When you have the number 1 first down diffs in the last 4 weeks, you know, the problem is this. You played against Belichick and Brady, and you played against, well, if the MVP isn't Lamar Jackson, it's Russell Wilson, and those are the 2 teams you faced. So I think Philadelphia can get a feel-good win. I think this defense that really isn't getting talked about because the team only has 5 wins on the year is going to be able to slow down Miami. And again, I don't have enough guts to get to the window with it, but I think the Eagles get a feel-good win here.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think they're going to get a win, too. It's just a matter of whether they cover. Well, if we're going to go down this schedule by rotation order, which means we're jumping to a 4 o'clock game, Oakland against Kansas City. You talked a little bit about it up front in the show, and we've got a 51.5 on the board, a 9.5 and 10 across the board for Kansas City. And well, Oakland really screwed up last week. I mean, they really had a shot at the playoffs, and now they're going to go into Kansas City, and they're going to lose. The game against the Jets was their season. I think Oakland is going to come into this game very disappointed, and it will be interesting to see how Derek Carr reacts to being benched. Kansas City, I really like this team, and I think that what Lamar Jackson is doing in Baltimore will actually have an effect on the Kansas City offense, because I think Mahomes wants that limelight back, if you will. I like Kansas City here. I think a blowout is in the works. I just, again, don't take -10s. I can't take the over in this game either, Ralph, even though I think it might be the right play, because I just don't believe in this Oakland offense. These wide receivers couldn't hold a ball if it was taped to their hand.
You know, I'm just looking at the Washington Redskins schedule. 25-1, 2, 3. Washington's only been blown out 3 times by more than 15 points. That's Washington. Oakland has now been blown out 4 times by 18 points or more.
Yeah, which
it's
I think
mind-boggling.
Ralph, I think that might be a record.
It's just crazy when you look at a team that is 6-5, and 4 of your 5 losses, a 30-point loss to the Jets, an 18-point loss to Green Bay, a 20-point loss to Minnesota, and an 18-point loss to Kansas City.
I mean, Denver's got a better point differential.
You know, and let me look at the last 4 weeks when I had it here. You know, we're only talking. The Raiders are minus 3.6 points per game. They're 3-2 straight up, 3-2 ATS in those last 5 games, but they're minus 3.6 points per game, which is number 21 in the NFL, and they're minus 25 yards per game, which is 22. And they're minus 6.0 first downs, which is number 29 out of the 32 teams. So very few teams are going to have 3-2 records and be number 29 in first down differential. With that said, I've heard a lot about off a bye, and Kansas City, having the advantage of being off a late season bye. And, Andy Reid does have a good record off a bye, but teams with a bye from week 10 on, we're in week 13 now. And if they're a home favorite, those teams have only gone 7-14 against the spread since 2012. So there's a lot of people that perhaps you're paying an inflated price. Perhaps you're a home favorite and you're rested and you think you can win this game and it's late in the season and you're going to be fresher. Well, it hasn't happened. Again, there's only been 21 games since 2012 because there's not that many late season buys. But it just shows you that it's not a positive record at all. It's actually a very negative record. I look at it and I think it's a live betting opportunity. Oakland has proven if they're in the game early, they stay in the game. If they're out of the game early, they're going to get blown out and they quit. So to me, I will look to see if there's a live betting opportunity following those parameters.
Talk about quitting, Ralph. Last week, me and you talked about the Jacksonville-Tennessee game, and I said to you, Jacksonville has quit on the season. And I think we've seen this with Jacksonville 2 years in a row now. They have Nick Foles as quarterback, and as discussed, he's the most overrated quarterback I've ever seen. I don't understand this guy. He can't throw the ball well. And here they are as a -1 favorite against Tampa Bay. And, however inconsistent Tampa Bay is, this game is almost Tampa Bay versus Tampa Bay. So is Tampa Bay going to cover or is Tampa Bay not going to cover? Jacksonville doesn't even factor in here. It's literally a matter of what's Tampa Bay going to do. This team could beat any team in the league on any Sunday. They've got offensive weapons, deluxe, and their defense is playing outstanding. Jacksonville is a total mess. Their defense is a disaster, but their quarterback is garbage. They literally have no wide receivers. I couldn't even tell you the name of their tight end. And with all that said, they have one of the best running backs in the league who never gets the ball. Marone needs to go. Foles needs to go. Frankly, Jacksonville needs to leave Jacksonville and move to Toronto, but that's a whole different story. Tampa Bay, baby.
Well, let's just go back 3 games, Prez. And if you're looking at the Jaguars, you're saying, well, you're 4-4. You just beat Cincinnati. You just beat the Jets. And you have 3 division foes. You've got to play them all away from home. Houston, Indy, Tennessee. And like you said, what did they do? Lose by 23, lose by 20, lose by 22. What's the high point of Jacksonville? Their defense. What did their defense allow? 36, 33, 42. What did their defense allow on the yard? 410, 389, 471. Oh, yeah, by the way, Tampa Bay has gone over 8 straight games. Not only has Tampa Bay gone over 8 straight games, Tampa Bay has gone over the total in those 8 games by 12.6 points per game. Defense stopping nobody. Jameis Winston is double scoring. He either is passing for touchdowns or he's passing for opponents' touchdowns. That's the type of quarterback you want when you have.
Dad, listen, it is Thanksgiving weekend, so let Jameis give thanks to everybody who wants touchdowns. I like the over in that game as well, Ralph, but I'm not going to mess with it because I think Tampa Bay is going to go in there and slaughter this Jacksonville team. Cincinnati hosting the New York Jets, and we just spoke about the Jets. I was on the Jets against Oakland. That was one of my 3 winners on Sunday. I like this Jets team, man. This Jets defense is underrated. Ralph, I'm sure you're going to tell us their numbers. They might be, they're top 5 in the league. They've got to be top 5 in the league. This defense is impossible to play against right now. And Cincinnati, this team needs a win. They're going back to the Red Rocket in quarterback. And I'm looking at the over in this game, Ralph. I don't think I'm going to take the points with the New York Jets because it's not very often that a team is without a win the entire season. So the Bengals are going to get their win. And it could be this Sunday. But at 41, with Sam Darnold whipping the ball all over the field, Le'Veon Bell playing as good as he's been playing of late, and the Red Rocket coming back with literally the last chance to save his career. 41 seems light to me. I'm going with the over.
Well, year to date, Prez, as I look at the stats, the Jets are number 8 in yards. They're number
Is this
1
their defense?
This is their defense. But they're number 8 in yards, allowing 321 yards. They're tied with Denver at number 8. They're number 4 in yards per play at 4.9. They're number 1 in rush D, and they're number 1 in defensive yards per carry. And the thing you have to remember about them is that, you had a couple games in there, the Dallas, the Buffalo, the Clevelands, and then New England, where your defense was on the field 80% of the time because you had no quarterback.
Yeah.
You had Luke Falk and Trevor Siemian just 3 and out, boom. So no matter who you played, it's not like they were getting run over, but they were still giving up 370 and 380 yards. They still have not given up over 400 yards in any game. The worst performance they had was that game against Dallas, which they won, and they gave up 389 yards. I like the Jets too. They've proven to me that, beating Dallas was the start of it. Then they had the New England game, which was ugly, but that's Belichick against a division foe. And then the Jacksonville game was disappointing. Then the Miami game. But what happens? They get back in sync. Le'Veon Bell starting to rush the ball better. Sam Darnold stops seeing ghosts. And you put up 34, 34, and 34. 3 straight games exactly, scoring 34 points. And Andy Dalton coming back. Yeah, I'm going to expect the Bengals offense to be a lot better than it was, but it can't be much worse than it was, getting 10, 13, 10, and 10, 43 points in 4 games. That's Lamar Jackson in 1 game. And the Jets defense and Sam Darnold playing well. I agree with you. Bengals might get a win. They play Cleveland twice. They play Miami on the road, and they play New England. Cincy may not get a win, Prez.
Yeah, but I'll tell you this, Ralph. If Cincy gets 10 points, that game goes over the total.
Well, they're going to get 10. Shit, they've had 10 every game except the
Well,
exception
that's
of
why
Pittsburgh.
the game's going over the total.
Well, let's see how easy this is handicapping.
Yeah, Rams, -3 on the road. -3 for the Rams? This Rams team is as good as the Bears, for Christ's sake. Something is very wrong in LA right now. Jared Goff is just overthrowing receivers. I think it's commonly referred to as a Trubisky when you miss the receiver, like outright, like where he's on the left side of the field and you throw it on the right side of the field. Isn't that called a Trubisky?
Come on now.
Whoa, now. The guy makes millions and millions of dollars sucking at his job. I don't feel bad for the freaking guy. He probably has a killer sex life as well. So yeah, I'm going to take my shots at Mitchell Trubisky. Anyway, something is wrong with the Rams. They're playing Arizona. The total is 47.5. I'm going to make this really short. I don't know how you can't take the Cardinals in this play.
I wouldn't want the Cardinals. I think, if you want value, you look at where the line was, and obviously the Rams aren't playing as good as they are. But, their losses are on the road to Pittsburgh, San Fran, Seattle. They lost to Tampa Bay, and they lost to Baltimore. I could see their losses. It's not like they're losing to Cincinnati. And, yes, they look bad doing it, and, Gurley's not there. But this was the first game back with you had Cooper Kupp and Woods and Cooks. And, yeah, they look bad against the Baltimore defense, but this Arizona defense ain't Baltimore. They're allowing 71% completions. I think that was a warm for the receivers. Goff start looking. This game was just a runaway. And, there's 2 games where when you get blown out like you did, you just throw the game out and don't worry about it.
I understand what you're saying, brother, but and I think the Rams are going to hit 71 completion percentage again because, they only throw the ball 2 yards directly in front of them 90% of the time.
But he didn't have Woods and Kupp before. He's got him now.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. But look, I like Sean McVay, and I'm cheering for the Rams. But there ain't no way in hell I'm betting them right now. Speaking of a team I can't bet, Phillip Rivers and the LA Chargers. Minus 2.5 with a couple of threes on the board against Denver. 38.5 is the total. I think Denver's going to absolutely struggle to score. I think Denver's offense is going to struggle to score. I could see Denver's defense putting up 35. Okay, that's probably not going to happen. But Phillip Rivers is done. I mean, like Sergeant Schultz would say, he is out. There you go. I got a Sergeant Schultz reference into this show. I got to take Denver here, but I'm not going to go to the window on this game. This is a straight pass for me.
I'm not going to overanalyze this. You have Phillip Rivers not playing well. You have Brandon Allen not playing well.
Yep.
He knows he's going to lose his job. You know, they're all waiting for Drew Lock, the person they drafted, who was injured, or else Brandon Allen wouldn't be playing. You have two teams that don't rush the ball particularly well, and you have two good defenses. You add in Denver's 2-10 over under their last 12 at home. You add in the Chargers are 2-8 over under their last 10, and I'm just going to say this is a rematch, second rematch of a division game where there was only 33 points scored in the first, and I'm going to say under.
And I understand that, Ralph, and I accept that. I mean, I think everything points to the under here. I can't play it, man. I mean, Phillip Rivers could throw 5 interceptions all on his side of the field. This game, though, I really like. Cleveland versus Pittsburgh. A lot of drama in this game, and Mason Rudolph has been named the starter, which is a little bit baffling if you ask me. Cleveland is minus 1.5 to 2 with an over and under of 40. And
Prez, let me jump in and correct you. Devlin Hodges has been named the starter.
Oh, I thought it was Mason Rudolph. I was reading something today. My apologies. Good.
No, it is. I'm sure today that they officially named Hodges the starter. I'm looking it up. Hodges has been named the starter as of 8 hours ago. Yes.
Okay. So either way, I think Cleveland is feeling really good about themselves here, and I think they're going to have a rallying point behind Myles Garrett getting thrown out for the season. I think the play here is on Cleveland, Ralph, and I understand Pittsburgh's got an outstanding defense. I understand that they're still in the wild card hunt. I just think their offense is so bad. I mean, Mitch Trubisky bad. Cleveland's the play for me.
I tweeted out earlier, Prez, when's the last time the Browns were an away favorite at Pittsburgh?
1998.
89.
Oh my God, I got the right numbers. Like in Mastermind, I would only be maybe 2 moves away.
Well, there's something to be said about a team that you haven't beaten. And yeah, you just beat them 21-7 on a short week, couple weeks ago. The Browns just aren't in sync to me. I mean, so many penalties. And I mean, Nick Chubb, when he's running, looks so good. And yes, you finally got the ball to Odell Beckham. And while I think the Browns are the better team. I think the Browns, having won 3 in a row, has the capabilities of doing it. But then I look at Pittsburgh. This Pittsburgh team, no matter how bad they've looked, Prez, they're 5-1 their last 6 games. You have to take something from that. You're changing quarterbacks. Some teams change quarterbacks like Cincinnati because you're 0-18. Some teams change quarterbacks because you still win the game because your defense is that good. Pittsburgh's defense is playing at an elite level. And let me look up the Steelers the last 5 weeks. Points per game, they're number 3 at 16.2. Yards per game, 280 yards per game in their last 5. Number 4 in the country. Boy, we've got some bad offenses when 280 yards per game is number 4. That's not even number 1. It shows you we have some good defenses or some inept offenses. Cleveland, I'm going to lean with the under again. The second division game, and I'm not playing it for that reason, but the Browns defense has been legitimately good. They made up for the loss last week. The Pittsburgh defense has been incredible. And, we've seen some incredible safeties change defenses this year. With Pittsburgh picking up the trade from Miami and Sherman going to the 49ers and the Ravens picking up their safety.
Harden going to Pittsburgh.
Yeah, there's been some real changes in defenses, and that's what one guy can do. I think Cleveland's the better team. My line has Cleveland as the favorite, but trust me, I know from being a Browns fan, going into Pittsburgh is not easy. It's the same mentality as Michigan has playing Ohio State. Listen, you're 1-14 against these guys the last 15 games, Michigan against Ohio State. It's tough to mentally get prepared to beat them. And one mistake happens, and all of a sudden those things start creeping into your head. Oh, we can't beat them. We're at Pittsburgh. So that does scare me, no matter how well Cleveland's playing the last couple of weeks. I can't play the side for that reason, but I do like the under. And let's not forget, guys, we're talking about some nasty weather this weekend, so make sure you check the weather. There's wind. If you have wind over 15 miles an hour, it is a changing factor in an offense.
Ralph, I'm betting Houston flat out. I'm betting them. I like them. I'm done with the Pats. I think their reign as a ATS machine is over. I loved it. We will never see anything like it again in our lifetime. I think Houston wins this game outright, going away by more than 10 points.
Well, congratulations, because I'm going to just go under again. It seems like I love a lot of unders.
The under in this game is a great call. I mean, Jesus, New England, I don't think anyone has scored more than 14 points against this New England team, and that includes New England.
Baltimore scored 37, but besides
Baltimore.
Right, everyone was 14 or less. Prez, what did I just say about Pittsburgh? Their last 5 games, they allowed 280 yards, and I said, oh, wow, look at that. New England on the season is allowing, 256 yards per game on the season.
Yeah, but they've played a bunch of poof cakes.
I'm going to play the under, and since you gave a strong opinion on the side, I'll just move on.
Yeah, but I didn't give any analysis on the side, but just let it be known that I am extremely high on Houston for Sunday night, and I'm high on Minnesota for Monday night. The Seattle team, I mean, they're a surprise. They're impressive. Russell Wilson's a god. But I think this Minnesota team might be a tough out. No reason they can't go all the way to the Super Bowl when they're clicking. When they're running a play-action pass offense, they're almost impossible to stop. They've got an outstanding defense. I'm getting points with a team I think can win, Ralph.
Yeah, Seattle's a different team at home. They're 0-4-1 as a home favorite. You're looking at a team that, Russell Wilson, last game, I mean, yeah, he got a win, but I'll tell you what, he missed a wide open receiver on a 10-yard little push pass that he flew over, and the receivers dropped a couple balls, and you're coming off a very physical San Fran. Yeah, they had the rest, and then Philadelphia stretch. This is your only home game, and then you go out and you have the Rams on deck. This is a game where I could see them looking ahead and saying, oh, wow, we got the Rams next week, and if we beat them again, we're going to win this division. So it just scares me because Kirk Cousins on the road is not the same quarterback. At home, I mean, it's incredible at home. He completes 80% of his passes at home when he can change and audibilize and run the play action with Dalvin Cook in good weather. He's 64%, a 16% difference on the road. Why? You can't hear the cadences as well. Seattle's going to be loud. This Seattle team's going to be ready. Is it going to be raining? I didn't check the weather on the Seattle game, but if there's weather, I think that's a real negating factor for the Minnesota Vikings. So if there's perfect conditions, I can see the Vikings keeping it close. if there's inclement weather, I think that really favors the home team here.
He's Ralph Michaels. I'm the Prez, and that, my friends, the presidential address for week 13. 15 seconds left to hit the hour. I want the show over before we make it there. It is an honor and a privilege to do this with you. Everybody out there, have yourselves a wonderful and incredible Thanksgiving. Enjoy your family. Enjoy your alcohol. Enjoy your edibles if that's what you do. Enjoy your turkey with cranberry. Enjoy life, family, friends, and football. Ralph, we'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys.